My name is Daisy. I am 32 years old, and yesterday was the worst day of my life. I stood under the burning sun in Savannah. The air was heavy and hot. Sweat ran down my back, soaking my black dress. In front of me there was a hole in the ground. Inside that hole was a tiny coffin. My son Ethan, he was only 8 years old. I looked to my left, empty chairs. I looked to my right, empty chairs. My mother wasn't there. My father wasn't there. My sister Destiny wasn't there. I was completely alone. While the priest was speaking, my phone buzzed in my hand. My heart jumped. I thought, maybe they are lost. Maybe they are texting to say they are sorry. I looked down at the screen. It was a text from my mother, but there were no words of comfort. There was no "I love you." It was a link to a house on Zillow. The subject line said, "Fresh start." It was a listing for a luxury beach house. The price was $1.5 million. That was the exact amount of the insurance money I got for my son's death. They didn't come to bury him. They were too busy shopping with his money. But before I tell you how everything flipped, like and subscribe, drop a comment. Where are you watching from? My name is Daisy Morgan. I am 32 years old, and I live in Savannah. I got into my car. It was scorching hot inside. The steering wheel burned my palms, but I didn't let go. I squeezed it until my knuckles turned white. I needed to feel that pain. It was the only thing keeping me grounded. It was the only thing telling me I was still alive. I started the engine. The air conditioning blasted hot air into my face before it turned cool. I sat there in the cemetery parking lot for a long time. I watched other people leave. I watched the groundskeepers start to clean up. They were moving on. Everyone was moving on except for me. My phone was on the passenger seat. It was silent now. The message from my mother was still there on the screen. The Zillow link. Fresh start. I put the car in drive and pulled out onto the road. The drive home was a blur. I drove automatically. I stopped at red lights. I went when they turned green. But I didn't really see anything. All I could see was that small coffin. All I could feel was the empty space beside me where my family should have been. I live in a small apartment complex about 20 minutes from the cemetery. It isn't a fancy place. It is quiet. It was perfect for Ethan and me. When I pulled into my parking spot, I turned off the engine and just sat there again. I didn't want to go inside. Going inside meant facing the silence. Before Ethan died, our apartment was never quiet. There was always the sound of his cartoons on the TV, the sound of his Lego bricks crashing onto the floor, the sound of him asking me questions about space and stars. "Mom, how far is Mars? Mom, can we make pancakes?" Now there was nothing. I forced myself to open the car door. The heat hit me again. I walked up the stairs to my door. My hand shook as I put the key in the lock. It took me 3 tries to get it open. I stepped inside. The air was stale. It smelled like dust and old coffee. I closed the door behind me and locked it. I leaned my back against the wood and slid down until I was sitting on the floor. I took off my black heels. My feet hurt. I pulled my knees to my chest and wrapped my arms around them. I sat there in the hallway for an hour. I just stared at the coat rack. Ethan's little blue windbreaker was still hanging there. His sneakers were kicked into the corner, one on its side, just like he left them. I couldn't cry. I think I had run out of tears at the graveside. Now I just felt cold. Even though it was 90 degrees outside, I felt like I was made of ice. Finally, I stood up. I needed water. I walked into the kitchen. On the counter, there was a stack of mail, bills, flyers, sympathy cards from neighbors. I pushed them aside. My laptop was open on the kitchen table. I had been using it to plan the funeral. I sat down and woke up the screen. I don't know why I did it. Maybe I was looking for a distraction. Maybe I was looking for answers. I opened my email. My inbox was full of notifications, confirmations from the funeral home, receipts for the plot, receipts for the headstone. Then I saw an email from the florist. It was a confirmation for the family spray of lilies I had ordered. I had paid for everything myself, but I had put my parents' names on the card. I wanted people to think they cared. I wanted to protect their reputation, even at my son's funeral. I clicked on the invoice. I just wanted to see the total again. I was staring at the numbers when something caught my eye, the account history. My mother and I shared a login for this florist. We had used it for years for birthdays and holidays. I saw my order for the funeral flowers, but then I saw another order. It was dated 14 days ago. 2 weeks before the funeral. I clicked on it. It was a cancellation. My breath hitched in my throat. I read the notes on the order. Order number 45,992. Recipient, Daisy Morgan. Occasion, sympathy. Status, cancelled by user. My mother had ordered flowers for me the day Ethan died. That was normal. But then, she had cancelled them. Why? I scrolled down to the chat log attached to the account. Sometimes, if you call customer service, they log the notes there. There was a note from a customer service representative named Sarah. Note: customer called to cancel the sympathy arrangement. Stated that she would not be attending the service and didn't want to send mixed signals. Also asked if the refund could be processed to a different card, ending in 8890. My hands started to tremble. The date of the call was 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago they knew. They knew they weren't coming. They didn't miss a flight. They didn't get sick. They didn't have a car emergency. They planned it. They sat down, 2 weeks ago, and decided that my son's funeral was not worth their time. They canceled the flowers to save $100. And then they asked for the refund to be put on a different card, my sister Destiny's card. I recognized the last 4 digits. I stared at the screen until my eyes burned. The Zillow link makes sense now. The fresh start subject line makes sense. They weren't grieving. They were waiting. They were waiting for the funeral to be over so they could ask for the money. They skipped the burial to look at real estate. The ice in my bones spread. It went from my chest to my stomach. I felt sick. I stood up and ran to the sink, dry heaving. Nothing came up. I was empty. I washed my face with cold water. I looked at myself in the mirror. My eyes were red and puffy. My skin was pale. I looked like a ghost. They planned it, I whispered to the empty kitchen. They planned to leave me alone. I walked into the living room. I looked at the photos on the wall. Pictures of me and Ethan. Pictures of Ethan and my parents. In the photos, they were smiling. They looked like loving grandparents. It was all a lie. I took the frame off the wall. It was a picture of my dad holding Ethan on his first birthday. I looked at it for a second, then I smashed it on the floor. The glass shattered. The sound was loud and sharp. It felt good. I took another one. My mom hugging Ethan at Christmas. Smash. I didn't stop until every photo of them was broken glass on the carpet. I stood in the middle of the mess, breathing hard. My heart was pounding. The sadness was changing. It was turning into something else, something hot and sharp. It was turning into rage. The rage gave me energy. I didn't want to sleep anymore. I didn't want to stare at the wall. I wanted to see the truth, all of it. I went back to my laptop. I sat down at the kitchen table, ignoring the shattered glass in the living room. I opened a file that I had kept hidden for 5 years. It was a password-protected spreadsheet. I typed in the password, Ethan2016. The file opened. It was a simple Excel sheet, but it held the secrets of my entire adult life. I called it the ledger. I started this list when I was 25. That was the year I got my first big promotion at the marketing firm. It was also the year my parents started asking for help. I looked at the rows. There were thousands of them. Date, item, cost, reason. I scrolled to the top. July 12, 2018. Mom's car repair, $1,200. Reason, Dad's pension is late. August 4, 2018. Destiny's rent, $850. Reason, she's between jobs, Daisy. Be a good sister. December 20, 2019. Family cruise tickets, $4,500. Reason, we want everyone together for Christmas. I remembered that cruise. I paid for everyone. Mom, Dad, Destiny, and me. But when we got on the ship, they had booked a suite for themselves and a balcony room for Destiny. They put me and Ethan in an interior room on the lowest deck. It's safer for the baby, my mom had said. I scrolled down. The numbers got bigger. March 2021. Parents' mortgage payment $2,400. Parents' mortgage payment $2,400. Parents' mortgage payment $2,400. 3 months in a row. My dad had told me the bank was making a mistake and freezing his accounts. I believed him. I paid it without asking questions. I was a single mom. I was saving for Ethan's college, but I gave them the money because they were my parents. Then I saw the entries for Destiny. My sister, the golden child. Destiny's modeling portfolio, $3,000. Destiny's trip to Cabo, $1,500. Destiny's traffic tickets, $600. My parents always called me with a frantic voice. Daisy, your sister is in trouble. She needs help. If you don't help her, she might go to jail. She might get evicted. So I paid. I always paid. I looked at the total column at the bottom of the spreadsheet. $214,560. $214,000. That was how much I had given them over the last 7 years. I looked around my apartment. It was clean, but it was small. My furniture was from IKEA. I drove a 6-year-old Honda. I shopped at discount grocery stores. I bought my clothes at Target. I lived like I was poor so that they could live like they were rich. I thought about the Zillow link again. The $1.5 million house. They didn't just want the insurance money. They felt entitled to it. In their minds, my money was their money. I wasn't their daughter. I was their bank account. I was their financial life support system. I remembered a conversation from last Thanksgiving. We were at their house, the house I had helped pay the mortgage on. I was in the kitchen, washing the dishes. My mom and Destiny were in the living room, drinking wine. I need a new purse, Destiny had whined. My Louis Vuitton is looking scratched. Maybe Daisy can chip in for your birthday, my mom had said. She didn't whisper. She said it loud enough for me to hear. I had frozen at the sink. I wanted to scream. I wanted to say, I just paid for the turkey. I just paid for the wine you are drinking. But I didn't. I dried my hands and walked out and said, we'll see. Because I wanted them to love me. I thought if I paid enough, they would finally look at me the way they looked at Destiny. I thought if I solved all their problems, they would finally appreciate me. I looked at the spreadsheet again. The numbers were cold and hard. They didn't lie. They never loved me. They loved what I could do for them. And now, Ethan was gone. The only reason I had to play nice, the only reason I wanted him to have grandparents was gone. I felt a shift inside me. It wasn't just rage anymore, it was clarity. I wasn't a victim anymore, I was a creditor, and I was about to close their account. I closed the laptop lid with a snap. No more, I said out loud. Not one more cent. I grabbed my purse and dumped the contents onto the kitchen table. My wallet, keys, and phone fell out. I took out my wallet. I pulled out every credit card I owned. I had 4 cards. 2 of them were authorized user cards. 1 for my dad, 1 for my mom. I had given them these cards for emergencies only. I logged into my banking app on my phone. I checked the recent transactions on the emergency cards. Yesterday, Shell gas station, $60. Yesterday, Starbucks, $15. Yesterday, Total Wine and more, $180. While I was burying my son, they were buying wine. I didn't cry this time. I felt cold steel in my spine. I called the number on the back of the first card. Thank you for calling Chase, the automated voice said. Please enter your card number. I entered it. Reason for calling. Lost or stolen, I said clearly. A representative came on the line. Hello, this is Mark. How can I help you? Hi, Mark. My name is Daisy Morgan. I need to report my cards as compromised. I need to cancel them immediately and remove all authorized users. Certainly, ma'am. Which users? Robert Morgan and Linda Morgan. Remove them permanently. Okay, that is done. The cards are deactivated. They will decline if anyone tries to use them right now. Good, I said. Thank you. I hung up. I picked up the kitchen scissors. I took the plastic cards with their names on them. I cut through the magnetic strips. I cut through the chips. I cut them into tiny, jagged pieces. I watched the pieces fall into the trash can. It felt like I was cutting an umbilical cord. A sick, twisted umbilical cord that had been draining the life out of me. Next, I went to the computer. I logged into Netflix. Profiles, Daisy, Ethan, Mom and Dad, Destiny. I clicked Manage Profiles. I deleted Mom and Dad. I deleted Destiny. Then I went to Account Settings. Sign out of all devices. Click. I did the same for Hulu, for Disney+, for Amazon Prime, for Spotify. For years, I paid for their entertainment. I paid for the movies they watched while they ignored my texts. I paid for the music they listened to while they drove the cars I helped fix. I changed the passwords to everything, every single account. My email, my bank, my social media, my cloud storage. I made the passwords long and complicated. Random strings of letters and numbers that they would never guess. I logged into the cell phone provider. It was a family plan. I was the account holder. I saw their lines. iPhone 14 Pro Max for Destiny. iPhone 13 for Dad. I clicked Suspend Line. Reason, lost/stolen. Click, I suspended my mom's line. Click, I suspended Destiny's line. Click, I suspended my dad's line. Click. In a matter of 10 minutes, I had shut down their world. Their phones wouldn't work. Their credit cards wouldn't work. Their TV wouldn't work. I sat back in my chair. The silence in the apartment felt different now. It didn't feel empty. It felt protected. I knew what was coming. I knew they would notice. It took exactly 12 minutes. My phone lit up. Incoming call, Mom. I watched it ring. I didn't answer. It stopped. Then it rang again immediately. Incoming call, Dad. I didn't answer. Then a text from Destiny. Text, WTF. My phone isn't working on data. I'm on Wi-Fi. Did you forget to pay the bill? I stared at the message. Did you forget to pay the bill? Not how are you? Not I'm sorry about Ethan. Just a complaint about her service. I typed back one word, no, then I blocked her number. I blocked my mom. I blocked my dad. I put the phone down face down on the table. My heart was racing, but not from fear. It was adrenaline. I had never stood up to them like this. Never. I was the quiet one, the obedient one, the one who fixed things. I wasn't fixing anything anymore. I was breaking it all down. I went to the front door. I checked the deadbolt. It was locked. I engaged the chain lock too. I went to the windows. I closed the blinds. I was turning my home into a fortress. I knew they wouldn't just call. They would come. They needed their money. They needed their supply. And when the parasite realizes the host is fighting back, it attacks. I went to the kitchen and made a pot of coffee, black, strong. I sat at the table and waited. It was 2:15 p.m. when the pounding started. It wasn't a knock. It was a fist hammering against the wood. Bam, bam, bam. Daisy. Open this door. It was my father's voice. It sounded deep and angry. The voice he used when I got a B on my report card. The voice he used when I didn't clean my room fast enough. I didn't move. I sat at the kitchen table, holding my coffee mug. My hands were steady. Daisy, we know you're in there. Destiny saw your car. This was my mother. Her voice was shrill. I took a sip of coffee. I let them pound. I wanted the neighbors to hear. I wanted witnesses. Open the door or I'm calling the police to do a welfare check, my father shouted. That made me stand up. If the police came, they could twist the story. They were good at that. I walked to the door. I didn't open it immediately. I looked through the peephole. They were all there. My father was wearing a polo shirt and khakis, looking red-faced. My mother was wearing her pearls and a black dress, probably the one she was supposed to wear to the funeral. Destiny was standing behind them holding her phone up. She was filming. Of course she was. I unlocked the deadbolt. I undid the chain. I opened the door. My father pushed past me before I could say a word. He stormed into my living room like he owned it. What the hell is wrong with you? He bellowed. My card was declined at the liquor store. Do you know how embarrassing that is? My mother walked in behind him. She looked around the apartment with a look of disgust. Her eyes landed on the shattered glass of the picture frames on the floor. Oh, Daisy, she whispered. She didn't sound sad. She sounded satisfied. Look at this mess. You're losing it. Destiny walked in last. She didn't look at me. She looked at her phone screen. Guys, we're here. My sister is having a total breakdown. It's so scary. She was live streaming. Get out, I said. My voice was quiet, but it was firm. We are not going anywhere, my father said. He turned to face me. He looked big in my small living room. You cut off the phones. You cut off the cards. You are clearly not in your right mind. I am perfectly sane, I said. I'm just done paying for you. Done, my mother laughed. It was a cold, sharp sound. Daisy, sweetie, you aren't thinking clearly. You're grieving. You're hysterical. She walked over to the wall where I had some of my botanical illustrations hanging. I am an amateur artist. I draw flowers. She touched one of the frames. These drawings, they are so dark, so disturbed. Only a sick mind draws dead flowers. They were drawings of dried hydrangeas. They were beautiful, but she twisted it. We are here to help you, my father said. He reached into his back pocket and pulled out a thick folded packet of papers. He threw it on the kitchen table. It landed with a heavy thud. What is that? I asked. It's for your own good, my mother said. It's a conservatorship agreement. I stared at the papers. I felt the blood drain from my face. A conservatorship, I repeated. You are unstable, my father said. You smashed pictures, you cut off your family, you are burying yourself in this dark apartment. You can't be trusted with your finances, or Ethan's estate. There it was. Ethan's estate, the $1.5 million. We spoke to a lawyer, Destiny chimed in, finally looking up from her phone. He said that since you're having a mental health crisis, we can take temporary control. To protect you. I'm not signing that, I said. Oh, you will, my father said. He pulled out a manila envelope. Or we will show the judge these. He tossed the envelope onto the table next to the legal papers. I opened it. Inside were printouts of emails. I read the top one. From Daisy Morgan to Robert Morgan subject, I can't take it anymore. Body, I hear voices. I want to hurt myself. I don't know what to do with the money. I think I should just burn it. I looked up at him. I never wrote this. It came from your email address, my father said, smiling a thin, cruel smile. We have dozens of them from the last 2 weeks, proving you have been spiraling since Ethan died. They had forged them. They must have hacked my email before I changed the password today, or maybe they just created fake screenshots. It didn't matter. In court, it would look real enough to get an emergency order. Sign the voluntary conservatorship, my mother said, stepping closer to me. She smelled like expensive perfume and gin. Daisy, give us control of the trust fund. We will manage the money. We will buy that nice beach house for the family to heal in. And you can go to a wellness center to rest. They want to put you in a psych ward, Daisy, I thought. They want to lock you up and spend your son's money. I looked at the three of them. My father, the bully, my mother, the manipulator, Destiny, the leech. They had planned this perfectly. They skipped the funeral to prep the legal paperwork. They set this trap while I was picking out a coffin. I felt a wave of fear. But underneath the fear, the rage was still burning. It was hotter now. I looked at the papers. Then I looked at my father. You want me to sign? I asked. Now, he said. Or we call the police and show them the glass on the floor and these emails. They'll 5150 you tonight. 72-hour hold. And by the time you get out, we'll have emergency custody of your assets anyway. I looked at the clock on the microwave. It was 2:30 p.m. I needed time. I needed a plan. I took a deep breath. I let my shoulders slump. I tried to look defeated. I tried to look like the weak, obedient daughter they always wanted me to be. Okay, I whispered. Okay, I'm tired. I just want it to stop. Good girl, my mother said. She patted my cheek. Her hand was cold. We'll take care of everything. I can't sign right now, I said, my voice shaking. I feel dizzy. I need to sit down. Can I come to your house tomorrow with the check and sign everything there? My father narrowed his eyes. Why not now? I need to transfer the money, I lied. It's in a trust account. I have to go to the bank in the morning to authorize the release. I can't do it from here. They exchanged looks. They were greedy, but they were also lazy. They didn't know how trust funds worked. Fine, my father said. Tomorrow morning, 9 a.m., you bring the cashier's check for the full amount and you sign the papers. I will, I said. And turn our phones back on, Destiny said. I will, I said. They turned to leave. My father stopped at the door. Don't try anything stupid, Daisy. We have the emails. We own you. They walked out. I heard their heavy steps going down the stairs. I locked the door. I slid down to the floor again. They thought they had won. They thought I was broken. But they forgot one thing. I was the one who managed their lives for 7 years. I knew where the skeletons were buried. I knew about the tax evasion. I knew about the gambling. They wanted a war. I was going to give them a massacre. I waited 10 minutes after their car drove away. I needed to be sure they were really gone. Then, I picked up my phone. I had to see what Destiny had done. I unblocked her number for just a moment. I didn't text her. I went straight to Instagram. Her profile picture was a selfie of her pouting, perfect makeup, perfect lighting. I clicked on her stories. There was a red ring around her picture. That meant she had posted recently. My finger hovered over the screen. I felt sick, like I was about to watch a car crash. I tapped the screen. The video started. It was filmed in my hallway just minutes ago. The camera was shaking slightly to make it look dramatic. Destiny was whispering, looking into the lens with wide, watery eyes. She wasn't crying, but she looked like she was trying to. Hey guys, she whispered. I'm literally shaking right now. We just had to do a wellness check on my sister. The camera panned to show my living room door. You could hear my father shouting in the background, but Destiny had edited the sound, so you couldn't hear the cruel words. You could only hear aggressive yelling. She's in a really bad place, Destiny continued, touching her hair. She's completely lost it since. You know the tragedy, she's violent, she's delusional. We are trying so hard to help her, but she's pushing us away. She paused for effect. A single tear, fake, definitely fake, rolled down her cheek. Please pray for my family. We are dealing with so much mental illness right now. It's so hard being the strong one. If you want to support us, the link to the GoFundMe for family recovery is in my bio. I stared at the screen. My mouth fell open. She wasn't just filming my grief. She was fundraising off of it. I clicked the link in her bio. Support the Morgan family during this tragic time. Goal, $50,000. Raised so far $4,200. People were donating. Strangers were giving my sister money because they thought she was a saint taking care of a crazy sister. I went back to the video and looked at the comments. There were hundreds of them. At Saralove, "You are an angel, Destiny. Stay strong." At Mike T, "So sad when family turns on you, your sister sounds dangerous." At Blessed Mama, "Mental health is real, sending prayers and cash." They were talking about me. They were talking about me like I was a monster. They didn't know I was the one who paid for Destiny's phone. They didn't know I was the one who paid for the highlights in her hair. They didn't know I was the one burying a son while they shopped. I watched the next story. It was a video of them in the car, driving away from my apartment. My mom was driving. Destiny was in the passenger seat. "We just want her to be safe," my mom said, looking at the road. She looked sad. She was a good actress. "We are going to try to get conservatorship tomorrow to protect her assets." "You're the best mom," Destiny said to the camera. "We're going to get through this." Then, for a split second, the mask slipped. Destiny thought she stopped recording, but she didn't. She looked down at her lap and smirked. $4,000 already? Yes, I need those boots." The video cut off. I sat there in my kitchen, freezing cold. This wasn't just selfishness. This was evil. She was painting me as the villain to thousands of people. She was destroying my reputation to buy boots. She was using my son's death as content. I felt a fire start in my chest. It wasn't the hot, exploding anger from earlier. It was a cold, blue flame. It was the kind of anger that doesn't scream. It plans. I took screenshots of everything. The video, the caption, the GoFundMe page, the comments. I screen-recorded the video where she mentioned the boots. I saved everything to a hidden folder on my phone. "You want engagement?" I whispered to the screen. "You want a show? I'll give you a show." I went to the bathroom. I washed my face. I brushed my hair. I put on a clean white shirt. I looked in the mirror. I didn't look crazy. I looked like a mother who had nothing left to lose. I wasn't going to comment on her post. I wasn't going to fight her in the comments section. That's what she wanted. She wanted a catfight. She wanted drama. I was going to destroy the platform she stood on. But first, I needed to understand the urgency. Why did they need the money tomorrow? Why were they risking a felony with the fake emails? Why was the GoFundMe so desperate? My dad had a pension. It wasn't huge, but it was steady. My mom had Social Security. They shouldn't be this desperate unless something else was going on. I needed to see Eric. Eric was a forensic accountant. He was also the only friend I had left who didn't know my parents. We went to college together. I hadn't seen him in 2 years, but I knew he was the best at finding money and finding debt. I drove to his office in downtown Savannah. It was late, almost 5 p.m. The sun was setting, casting long, dark shadows on the streets. I didn't call ahead, I just showed up. The receptionist tried to stop me, but Eric saw me through the glass walls of his office. He saw my face. He saw the dark circles under my eyes. He waved me in immediately. "Daisy," he said, standing up. "I heard about Ethan. I am so sorry. I sent a card, but..." "I didn't get it," I said. "My parents probably threw it away." I sat down in the leather chair across from his desk. I didn't make small talk. I didn't have the energy for it. "I need your help, Eric. I need you to run a background check, a deep financial dive." "On who?" he asked. "My parents, Robert and Linda Morgan. And my sister, Destiny Morgan." Eric looked at me, confused. "Your parents, Daisy, you're grieving, is this?" "They are trying to put me under a conservatorship," I said flatly. "They want control of Ethan's life insurance. They are forging emails to make me look insane. They need $1.5 million by tomorrow morning. I need to know why." Eric's face changed. The sympathy vanished, replaced by professional focus. He sat down and typed on his keyboard. "Give me their social security numbers if you have them." I recited them from memory. I had filed their taxes for years. I knew their numbers better than my own. Eric worked in silence for 20 minutes. The only sound was the clicking of his mouse and the hum of the air conditioner. I watched his face. I saw his eyebrows go up. Then I saw him frown. Then I saw him pale. "Daisy," he said softly. "Come look at this." I walked around the desk. "This is a credit report, but I also have access to some alternative databases," Eric said. "Look at this line here." He pointed to a red bar on the screen. "Outstanding debt unsecured. $420,000. Creditor, ATL Holdings LLC. "What is ATL Holdings?" I asked. "It's a shell company," Eric said. It's a front for an illegal gambling ring operating out of Atlanta. Private poker games, sports betting, high stakes. Who owes the money? Destiny, Eric said, but look at the co-signers. I looked. Guarantors, Robert Morgan, Linda Morgan. Destiny has a gambling problem, I asked. I knew she liked to spend money, but I didn't know she gambled. It looks like she got into online poker about 2 years ago, Eric explained, scrolling through the data. She lost big. Then she borrowed to try to win it back. Then she lost that. Your parents signed as guarantors to keep their kneecaps from getting broken, probably thinking they could pay it off. But they didn't pay it off, I said. No. They stopped making interest payments 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago, the exact time Ethan died. There's a note here, Eric said. He clicked on a file. It's a collection notice, a final demand. He read it out loud. Payment in full required by Friday, 5 p.m. Failure to pay will result in asset seizure and personal contact. Personal contact, I whispered. That meant violence. That meant guys with baseball bats showing up at the door. Friday, I said. That's tomorrow. It all made sense. The desperation, the fake emails, the conservatorship, the skipped funeral. They weren't just greedy. They were terrified. They were in a hole worth $400,000. And they looked at my dead son's insurance money as their ladder out. They want to take Ethan's money, I said, my voice shaking with rage, to pay off a gambling debt to the mafia. Daisy, Eric said, grabbing my hand. You cannot give them that money. If you give it to them, you are funding a criminal enterprise. The IRS will come after you for money laundering. I know, I said. I'm not going to give it to them. What are you going to do? You need to call the police. No, I said. The police take too long, and my parents are good liars. They will talk their way out of it. I looked at the screen again. I looked at the debt. I need one more thing from you, Eric. What? I need you to help me file a whistleblower report with the IRS tonight. You want to report your own parents. They haven't paid taxes on any of this income or these gifts. I've been giving them for years, I said. And they certainly aren't declaring this gambling debt. If we flag their accounts for suspicious activity and potential fraud, what happens? Eric smiled slowly. If we flag it with a priority code, the IRS freezes everything. Bank accounts, assets, real estate, everything gets locked down for an audit, usually within 12 hours. Do it, I said, lock them down. I didn't sleep that night. I sat in my living room, watching the sun come up. At 8:30 a.m. I got dressed. I didn't wear black. I wore a light blue dress. It was simple. It was the color of the sky. I drove to my parents' house. It was a nice house. 2 stories, brick, a manicured lawn. I had paid for the landscaping last month. Destiny's white Range Rover was in the driveway. I walked up the path. My heart was beating slow and hard. Thump, 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 I rang the doorbell. My mother opened it instantly. She was wearing a silk robe. She looked tired, but her eyes were bright with greed. Daisy, she said, pulling me into a fake hug. I knew you would come to your senses. Come in, sweetie, come in. I walked into the kitchen. My father was sitting at the table with the packet of legal papers. Destiny was there too, drinking an iced coffee. She wasn't filming this part. This was the illegal part. Do you have the check? My father asked. He didn't say hello. I have something better, I said. I sat down. I can't get a cashier's check for that amount without a 3-day waiting period. The bank told me this morning. What? Destiny shrieked. We need it today. By noon, calm down, I said softly. I set up a direct wire transfer. From the trust account to your joint account, it's faster, it clears in 1 hour. I pulled out my phone. I just need you to sign this receipt saying you received the funds for Ethan's estate management. My father grabbed the paper I had typed up. Fine, whatever. He signed it quickly. And now the conservatorship, my mother said, sliding the thick packet toward me. Sign here, here, and here. I picked up the pen. My hand hovered over the paper. This gives you control over everything, I asked. My apartment. My car, Ethan's savings. Everything, my father said, so we can take care of you. I looked at them, really looked at them. My father, who never came to my softball games but never missed Destiny's pageants. My mother, who forgot my birthday 3 years in a row. Destiny, who was currently wearing the boots she bought with the GoFundMe money. Okay, I said, I signed, but I didn't sign my name. I signed, go to hell. I closed the packet. Done, transfer the money, Destiny demanded. I tapped my phone screen. Sending. Now, I showed them the screen. It was a screenshot I had mocked up. It showed a transfer of $450,000 pending. It says pending, my father said nervously. It takes an hour, I said, but it's in the system, you can call your creditors. They froze. How do you know about creditors? My father asked. I know you have bills, I said vaguely. Mortgage. Cars, they relaxed, they believed me. They were so desperate for the money to be real, they didn't question it. We should celebrate, my mother said, clapping her hands. I'll make mimosas. I have to go, I said, standing up. I want to go visit Ethan's grave, now that this is settled. Yes, yes, you go, my father said, waving his hand. He was already refreshing his banking app on his phone, waiting for the money to appear. I walked to the door. Bye, Daisy, Destiny said. She was smiling. Thanks for being a good sister for once. I opened the door. The morning air was fresh. Goodbye, I said. I walked to my car. I got in. I drove down the street. I didn't go to the cemetery. I pulled over around the corner, where I could still see their driveway. I looked at my watch. It was 9:15 a.m. Eric had filed the IRS whistleblower report at 8 a.m. sharp. He flagged the large incoming transfer I had faked as potential money laundering linked to the gambling ring. Any minute now. At 9:22 a.m., a black sedan pulled up to the house. Then another one. These weren't police. These were IRS Criminal Investigation Division agents. Eric had called in a favor to expedite the freeze. But before the agents could even get to the door, I saw my father run out of the house. He was holding his phone. He looked frantic. He was shouting. I rolled down my window to hear. Declined. What do you mean frozen? My account is active. He was on the phone with the bank. The IRS freeze had just hit. My mother ran out behind him. My card isn't working. The grocery delivery was canceled. Then Destiny ran out. She looked terrified. Dad, the guy is calling me. He says the payment bounced. He says they are coming. It was chaos. The IRS agents stepped onto the lawn. I saw them flash their badges. My father dropped his phone. My mother put her hand over her mouth. I put my car in drive. I didn't need to see the rest. I knew what would happen. The accounts were frozen. They had zero access to money. The Atlanta group would not get their payment by 5 p.m. My parents were about to face the federal government and the mafia on the same day. And I wasn't going to be there to bail them out. The next few days were a blur of silence and peace for me. I changed my phone number so they couldn't call from a borrowed phone. I stayed at a hotel for 2 nights, just in case they came to my apartment. But they didn't come. They were too busy drowning. I heard what happened through Eric and through the news. Because of the influencer status Destiny tried so hard to build, their downfall was public. Day 1, the IRS seized the house. Apparently, my parents had been taking out second and third mortgages to pay for Destiny's lifestyle and hiding the income. The house I grew up in, the house they wouldn't let me enter without judgment, was padlocked. Day 2. Destiny was arrested. Not for gambling, but for fraud. The GoFundMe she started, it was flagged as wire fraud because she lied about the purpose of the funds. She was soliciting money for medical care for her sister, but spending it on luxury goods. The screenshots I took were the key evidence. Day 3. My father tried to flee. He was caught at the airport trying to use a credit card that was flagged by the federal investigation. But the worst punishment wasn't the law. It was the reality. They lost everything. The white Range Rover, repossessed. The country club membership, revoked. The friends they tried to impress, vanished. I drove by the house one last time a week later. There was a for sale by auction sign on the lawn. I saw my mother standing on the sidewalk. She was holding a plastic bag of clothes. She looked old. She looked small. She wasn't wearing her pearls. She was wearing a gray tracksuit. She looked at my car as I drove by. I slowed down, our eyes met. I waited for the guilt to hit me. I waited to feel that familiar pang of I should help her, she's my mom. But it didn't come. I felt nothing. It was like looking at a stranger. She took a step toward the car, raising her hand. Daisy, she mouthed. I didn't stop. I pressed the gas pedal gently. The car moved forward. I watched her get smaller and smaller in the rearview mirror until she was just a gray dot. Then I turned the corner and she was gone. I drove to the bank. I sat down with the manager. I want to close the trust account, I said. And transfer the funds where? He asked. I want to open a new foundation, I said, the Ethan Morgan Astronomy Scholarship. Very good, he said. And who will be the trustees, your parents? No, I said firmly. Just me. Sole trustee. Understood. I signed the papers. This time I signed my real name. The pen felt light in my hand. The money that they would have used to pay off a gambling debt, the money they would have used to buy status, was now safe. It was going to send kids to space camp. It was going to buy telescopes. It was going to do good. My phone buzzed. It was a notification from Instagram. Destiny's account had been deleted. I smiled. The silence was absolute. 3 months later, I stood on the beach. It wasn't the luxury beach from the Zillow link. It was a quiet, public beach near Tybee Island. It was night. The sky was pitch black and full of stars. I held a telescope. It was Ethan's telescope. Around me there were 10 children. They were the first recipients of the scholarship. They were from low-income families, kids who loved science but couldn't afford the camps. "Okay, everyone," I said. My voice was steady, it was calm. "Who can find the North Star?" I can," a little boy shouted. He looked a bit like Ethan, he had the same messy hair. I helped him adjust the lens. "Right there, see it." "Wow," he whispered. "It's so bright." I looked up at the sky. For a long time, I thought my life was about serving my family. I thought my purpose was to be the fixer, the banker, the punching bag. I thought love meant enduring pain. But looking at the stars, I realized how small they were. My parents, their greed, their drama, it was all so small compared to this. I hadn't heard from them in 90 days. I heard my dad avoided jail time by snitching on the gambling ring, but they were living in a small rented apartment in a bad part of town. My mother was working as a greeter at a Walmart. Destiny was doing community service and was banned from all social media platforms as part of her plea deal. They were alive. They were surviving, but they were no longer my problem. I took a deep breath. The ocean air filled my lungs. I felt a presence beside me. It wasn't a ghost. It was just a memory, a warm, gentle memory of my son. "Mom, look at the moon." "I see it, baby," I whispered. I wasn't a victim anymore. I wasn't a daughter anymore. I was Daisy. Just Daisy, and for the first time in my life, that was enough. I turned back to the children. "Okay, who wants to see Saturn?" "Me," they all shouted. I smiled. It was a real smile. It reached my eyes. I adjusted the scope. I pointed it at the rings of Saturn. I was free. I had walked through the fire of my family's betrayal, and I had come out the other side. I didn't burn. I was forged. I looked through the lens one last time. The universe was big and beautiful and quiet. "Here," I said to the boy, "take a look, it's all yours." And finally I was happy.